Hello, everyone. I just want to thank you so much for attending today's webinar, 60-minute SpeedCourse MS Project webinar. My name is Kat Amato, the Sales and Marketing Director at Cogno. If you have any questions or training needs that I can help you with, please feel free to email me directly at info@cogno.com, and I'll be more than happy to help you. Now, as a thank you for attending today's webinar, we're offering everyone an exclusive 30% discount off of any of the courses we have available in our marketplace from today's host author, MS Project. So after the event, we'll be emailing everyone the discount code so you can take advantage of the savings. And we'll also include a link to today's webinar recording that we'll post on our YouTube channel. I also wanted to mention that Cogno has a robust training university solution available to each of you at no cost. The training university makes it easy for your staff to find the training they need and a breeze for your training staff to manage employee training. Some of the many features of the training university include the ability to curate your own library of training to make it easy for your staff. You can even upload your own internal training documents. Your staff can send a request to your assigned training manager, which can be approved or declined by the training manager. Also, the training manager can assign specific courses to users. The Training University comes with full tracking and reporting capability, and the best part, you can save up to 30% on training courses from the Cogno Marketplace. So again, this is available to all of you with no upfront costs. Simply email us or use the chat feature on your GoToMeeting panel. Let me know that you're interested, and I'll send you some information, and we can set up a quick demo so I can show you the features and functions. So in addition to the courses from our host author today, MS Project, we also have thousands of courses in virtually every business topic available in our marketplace, including courses on human resources, safety, software, business management, and soft skills, just to name a few. So be sure to check out our website to search the available options. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask the speaker today, feel free to write those in the chat feature on your GoToMeeting panel, and he'll answer those as we go along. And we'll also have a Q&A at the end of today's webinar. So our guest author today is Sandor Nekeman from MS Project. Sandor has focused on change management and embedding Microsoft Project and Project Server into daily operations since 2006. Through Enabler Consultancy, Sandor delivered project guidance at more than 40 organizations, including ASML, Fedship, and PostNL. Now, along with business partner and lifelong friend Edwin Vanderbroek, he delivers project training through comprehensive e-courses at msprojectelearning.com. Their approach for showing others how to successfully embed project into an organization incorporates a mature level approach, a proven way of work, weekly quality checks on schedules, and ample tips and tricks for saving planners time. So now it is with great pleasure that we welcome Sandor Nekeman today. Welcome, Sandor.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you should be able to hear me now. So welcome. Thank you for joining. What I will do today is I'll show you around in Microsoft Project. Microsoft Project is a tool that's considered to be quite a difficult tool sometimes, but when you know your way around, it can become quite simple indeed. The thing is that there are some tricks. I think it comes down to 3 or 4 main tips that can mean all the difference between being very happy with Microsoft Project or becoming very frustrated from Microsoft Project. So my aim is, well, we only have an hour. My aim is to show you around what Microsoft Project is, what it can do, and of course it should not be the goal today to remember all buttons. It's impossible. But as long as you remember, okay, that can be done, then later on you can always review, Google, or use a course or whatever to find your way around. So I will show my screen. And I think, let's see if it's showing now. Can you confirm, Kat?
Yes, yes, I'm seeing it. I think I'm also seeing your, oh, yep, okay, now it's good. I was seeing your taskbar below, but yes, it's all good to go.
Yeah, great. So Microsoft Project. As soon as I open Microsoft Project, and let's start with, okay, where to get Microsoft Project. If you don't have it yet, please Google Microsoft Project trial and go for, I think it's the fourth result in Google. It's the MPUG website, MPUG, Microsoft Project User Group. Also a great tip to join there, to register there. But if you go to their result, they have a page of all kinds of trials which let you use Microsoft Project for 60 days without any cost. If you then also decide to purchase it, well, you can purchase it or you can use it as software as a service, meaning that you would only pay $25 more or less per month to be able to use it. It's within the Office 365 suite then. So as soon as I open Microsoft Project, it will I will just start a blank project. And what you see here is a spreadsheet. Spreadsheet on the left side and some kind of time-scaled view on the right side. And I say a spreadsheet view because it looks like Excel, and you can just, yeah, a lot of functions work the same as in Excel. So what I do is I just start with typing in my first task, and I put in a second task, and so on. Just like in Excel, I can just start entering a task. What I also could do is this. Just like in Excel, I take the right corner of the cell, I drag it down, and then I have many tasks in my schedules. Of course, it makes no sense to have all kinds of tasks and that are called the same, task 2, but for now, for this demo, I will leave it like this. What you also see is very important is the task mode. Task mode means how should it be scheduled? Should the task be manually scheduled or should it be auto-scheduled? And manually scheduled is a perfect way to start if you're not familiar yet with Microsoft Project and you want to be in control of what happens. On the other hand, what you want from Microsoft Project is that it will auto-schedule, that it will schedule for you and do the work for you, just like Excel will do any calculations based on the formulas you put in. So what I will do is I will default all tasks to be auto-scheduled. And like I said, it's very difficult to remember all the buttons I will press today, but just to show you what is possible. And I will also say that any new task should also be auto-scheduled. As soon as I do that, you see that for each task I also have a blue bar on the right of my screen. This is the Gantt chart. Why the Gantt chart? Well, one Mr. Gantt several years ago, well, many years ago, thought that this would be a helpful screen for scheduling. So the Gantt chart. And for each bar, for each task, I will have a certain duration which corresponds to the length of the bar on the right side. So I have 3-day task, a 2-day task, a 3 days task, and so on. This I can still do in Excel by coloring all these cells. I think you recognize what I'm saying now. So in Project, what I can do is I can take all tasks and simply link these. What you will get is a linked schedule. It looks like a waterfall, which means that as soon as this task 1 finishes, then task 2 can start. And same for 2 and 3, and so on. And what you see is a schedule. And the schedule, what it does, it will predict when this last task will be accomplished, or when this last milestone will be achieved. A milestone basically is a project event. It could be anything. It could be the start of a project, it could be the end of a project, it could be a delivery of an important item, it could be anything. But what a milestone really is nothing more than a task with a duration of 0 days. Then you get this little black symbol on the right, which also shows a date. That's the prediction of when you will be ready. For instance, if I leave my office, I will walk down the elevator, walk down the stairs. I go to my car, I drive out from the parking lot, I'll drive this road, another road, yet another road, and so on. And at the end, I will be at home. And my Garmin or my navigation system does that for me. So it knows which routes to take. I know the route in advance. And if that Garmin, if the navigation system tells me that I will be home at 6 p.m., I know one thing for sure, and that's that I will not be at home at 6 p.m. It will be just before 6, just over 6, a lot of maybe 6:30 or 7. It can be anything, but it gives me some guidance. So what many people say is, why should I start using Microsoft Project? Why should I start scheduling? Because everything changes anyhow all the time. So that's the reason. Because if I would take longer over this road, there's a traffic jam, for instance. It will take me 4 days. It will predict that also, well, it will recalculate my ETA, my estimated time of arrival. My navigation system does that, but my schedule does that as well. So I will be ready with this project on the 2nd of December, which is okay because my obligation, what I agreed with my customer, is that I would be ready at 9th of December. And then you see this little green arrow, and that shows the deadline. So the milestone is not when the task should be finished, it's when the task is finished based on my schedule. And the deadline is when it should be finished, and that's the only thing we need to do. Well, it's easier said than done, of course, but what we should do is keep this milestone before the deadline. And if it goes over, I'll show you what happens. You will get a little red exclamation mark on your left, and that means that you should do something. Let's undo this one. Let's continue by showing you, well, we have these durations, we have these starts, we have these finish dates. But the finish dates and the start dates, I did not put in those dates. It was calculated for me by Microsoft Project, and that is what is a lot more difficult in Excel. What I could do, just like in Excel, is insert an extra column, and it will appear on the left, like cost, for instance. What I could do is insert an extra row, and it will appear above the task I just selected. What I could also do is structure these tasks. So these tasks together, they have to do with, let's say, phase 1, or better product 1. And these tasks have to do with product 2. And I click summary, I type product 2, and there you go. I have 2 summary tasks. You see, this task is not linked yet, and that's one of the most important things. Make sure that every task is linked. Every task should be linked, because if this is 1 day or if this is 10 days, it should be done somewhere. And now we expect that it's done here. But if it was part of this network, then we would also not be finished on the 2nd of December. So this is what Microsoft Project is, what it does, and basically the left part is not much more than Excel. When I inserted the column, what you saw is many fields. So I will go down, and this is still the B. And if I go further, then, well, and so on. Good news is you don't need to know all these fields to be able to start with Microsoft Project. If you only know 5%, then you can do about 90% of the things you want to do in Microsoft Project. Also, I think if you know the first 5%, then you could easily interpret or anticipate on what the meaning of the other fields could be. So that's another thing. So insert columns, insert rows, and basically this looks like Excel. This is the task tab. In the task tab, well, you do everything that has to do with the task. And there's also the resource tab, and there you can find everything you want to do with the resource. More about that. So you have also the report task, the project, the report tab, the project tab, the view tab, and we will cover them all. What the view tab shows is, well, a lot of views. We have a Gantt chart view. We have a task usage view. We have a team planner view. We have a resource usage view. We have a resource sheet view, and it goes kind of quick, but just to show you that there are a lot of views. Here are even more views, and all these views show you the same information, but just with from another perspective. So also with these views, if you know a couple of them, it is enough to start with Microsoft Project, but the other ones do come in handy sometimes. The calendar view, if you'd like to have a view that's familiar. Similar to Outlook. Let's go back to the Gantt chart. That's the Gantt chart. Then we also have the Format tab. I will show a little bit more about that. The Format tab, for instance, helps me to show the critical path of my project. The critical path, what is the critical path? These are all the tasks that are linked to each other. So it's my chain of connected tasks, of dependent tasks, that together form the total duration of my project. It also means that this is shortest time possible to complete the project. It also means that if one task would delay, it would delay the entire project. So that's the critical path. And how to focus, how to show the critical path will come back as well. First, I'd like to show you that, well, we could also enter resources. So if I go back to the resource sheet, and by the way, this is an easier view to go to all the views. Right mouse click on the left bar, go to the resource sheet, and there I can type in the resources. Well, let's use two resources, Sander and Cat. There you are. So I have two resources now. Oh, wait, I should go back. I should also put in the rates of these resources, because there are a lot of fields about I can enter for these resources as well. Their availability. Sander is 100% of his work week, which is 40 hours available, and Cat maybe only 50%. I don't know. We could also have a rate. Sander's rate is 100, Cat's rate is also 100. We could have an overtime rate for all the hours that go over the standard work week. We can change calendars, so we can say that Sander is not available from a certain date or to a certain date. For instance, he will only join the company as from the 1st of January, for instance. Then I will simply do this, which means that if Sander is scheduled on another day than, well, just before the 1st of January, his name will appear red. And I'll also show you how that looks like. I'll build it up. Change working time I can do. What this means is, well, Sander goes on a holiday, for instance. Holiday. When does he go on a holiday? From the 14th until the 18th. And what you see is that these days will be grayed out in the calendar, which means that if a task was scheduled on the 14th, then it will automatically be pushed to the 22nd, because Sander is not working. It could also be that Sander has a different work week than his colleagues. For instance, he is working from Monday to Thursday for, let's say, 10 hours a day, like this. And because he works his 40 hours in 4 days, he can have Friday off. In the Netherlands, many people do that if they work more than 2 hours from the office, for instance. They will design their work week like this, and this way you can model that in Project as well. I will not cancel it, so we don't need to overcomplicate it now. Cancel. So what we do have now is we have two resources. We have a rate. And now we go back to the Gantt chart and we will just assign this resource to the tasks. Sander, Cat, Sander. And there it is. And what you see is as soon as I assign the resource, then somehow it assigns a cost component to this task. So $2,800 for the first task, for instance. How is that calculated? Well, that's calculated as follows, because it assumes that Sander, if he's working 100% of his work week to one task, and the average work day is 8 hours, then he would work a certain amount of hours, which is 28. So 3.5 days times 8 hours will mean that he is working 28 hours. So what's the difference? What's the difference between work and duration? First of all, work is expressed in hours by default. Duration is expressed in days by default. But the difference is that work is the amount of hours. You should remember it like this. It's the amount of hours that will be on the invoice for Sander. And duration is the spread. So on when were these hours actually worked. So I could do 28 hours in 3.5 days, but I could also do 28 hours in an entire month, and then we would have 28 hours against 20 working days, for instance. So this time, 28 hours was multiplied by the rate for Sunday, and I also have the cost for my task now. And as you can see, because I did it for all the tasks, it is now summarized on the summary task level. So that's why it's so very important to have a right summary structure, so to say. This will be your PBS, your product breakdown structure, or your work breakdown structure. So sometimes even I have spent about 2 days, 3 days with a customer to come up with a perfect outline, the perfect breakdown structure for their templates, for their projects. For instance, I work at a shipping yard, FedShip, and they build these mega yachts, 100-yard ships for the richest among us. And what they do is, on the top level, they have deck 1, deck 2. Well, basically the tank deck, the engine deck, the owner's deck, sun deck, and so on. And one level deeper, they will have different sections. Go one level deeper, and they will have the different rooms. And one level deeper, they have the different components per room. So it's about 4 or 5 levels deep, the schedule, and on each level it summarizes the cost or the total amount of effort correctly, so we can do a perfect calculation before and after people wrote their time to the projects, for instance. So that's that. As you also can see is, in this case 16 hours and 4 days, it means that only 4 hours per day are worked. Well, that's true because you see Cat was only available 50% of her time. So that's the reason why the 16 hours was calculated to be 4 days. I almost have my schedule correctly. What I should do now is I should finish this. So I type in sender, and I type in get, and sender, and sender, and sender, and get. Oh, not on the milestone. Sorry for that. And now I have my schedule fully resourced. There's a problem though. As you can see, we are warned again. This time it's not a red exclamation mark at the milestone, but now it's red puppet. And this red puppet means there's no allocation. We can also see that here that Sander is assigned to this task and this task. And if we would look close in another view, we would see that means that Sander is expected to work 16 hours per day. That can happen. I can work overtime, but a good schedule limits the amount of work overwork right from the start. So I could do something with that. What I could do is, right mouse click, says right click for options, reschedule to available date. Okay, apparently Sander has some room to do the task here and to do the task there. And he could do that because this task is not depending on any other task. You see how it skips the task of Sander and keeps the critical path more or less intact. I say more or less intact because, this is not the end date of the project anymore. This will be the end date of the project. Oh, did I do that correctly? Now I do. So this will be the correct end date of the project. So keep that in mind, that every task should be linked. Every task should be linked, because otherwise you will not have a correct end date of the project. I think this is a great point to have a short break, Kat, for about 45 seconds to 1 minute, and then we'll continue with the second half of this webinar.
Okay, great. Sounds good, Sandra. Thank you. I just want to remind everyone that after today's webinar, we'll be emailing everyone information about other courses available in our marketplace from MS Project, along with a 30% discount to use or share share with your colleagues who are not able to attend today's webinar event. Also, if you have any other specific training need that you need some course recommendations for, please feel free to email me directly. I can provide you course recommendations and also help with some nice deep discounts. So feel free to email me again at info@cogno.com, and I'll be happy to help you with that. Sandor, back to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so yeah, I cannot do it right now, but usually what I do is and I think it's very funny, what I will do is I will open Excel and I will open my calculator, and what I will do is I will type 4 entries in Excel. 1, 2, another 2, a third 2, and a fourth 2. So 4 times 2. What I will then do is I will copy and paste each 2 in my calculator and do the calculation over there. It gives me the result of 8. And then I type back my 8 back in Excel, which is ridiculous. It's absolutely, it makes no sense to do that. However, people could do that if they're not too familiar with Excel. If you don't know that there are formulas that can do all the work for you, you might just end up doing that in Excel as well. We all know it.
Sandor, if I may just interrupt you for a moment, and I do apologize for having to interrupt. During that short little break, we lost your screen, so I'm not able to see your screen.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, so in Excel, yeah, we know Excel. We are familiar in Excel. And why? Because we got to learn Excel when we were, well, not at the very busy part in our career, perhaps, or maybe at the beginning. But the Microsoft Project, yeah, Microsoft Project comes on your path when you are actually very, very busy in your career, and now you also need to learn a new tool. Well, I can tell you that Microsoft Project can do a lot for you. Microsoft Project can calculate anything for you. You only should know where to do it and how to do it. So just like it makes no sense to use Excel the way I just described, there are many ways. I see people working in Microsoft Project that to me make absolutely no sense, because we can link it all. If you link each task, then you are certain that the next task will be recalculated. And there are just 3 simple things I want to show you. 3 simple things that make all the difference between being very happy with Microsoft Project or becoming very frustrated by Microsoft Project. These are the 3 you want to write down, because if you remember this and if you apply this with discipline to your schedule, then I think you will save a couple of hours per week. Someone told me that for your average 100-line 3-month project, you will save about 4 hours per week, 3 to 4 hours per week, by not having to do things manually, but by having things done by Microsoft Project. So it's a lot. The first one is what you want to have is you want to have each task linked. Each task linked, because if it's not linked, I will remove the link right now. Yeah, what kind of value would you have for this date? It will not calculate. So if Sander's task, this task, is waiting for Kat's task, yeah, we would never know. We would never know the consequence. So it should be linked. Each task should be linked. Second, each task should be auto-scheduled. If it's not auto-scheduled, but it's manually scheduled, then this will happen. I have a longer duration for my task. Let's say it's 8 days now. And you see that this task will just not move. The manually scheduled task will not move. As soon as I make it auto-scheduled again, then it will move and then it will calculate. That's 2. So first one is make sure every task is linked on the front and on the back. Second is make sure that each task is an automatically scheduled task. Let's go back to here. The third one is you should not have any constraints to your task. Well, what is a constraint? I will show you. If I double click on a task, I come in the task information window. And there you see the advanced button, and here you see the constraint type. And you see that by default, each task has an as soon as possible constraint. As soon as possible, other options are finish no earlier than, finish no later than, must finish on, must start on, start no earlier than, and so on. And basically these are restrictions to your task. And if you know how to use them, that's okay, but sometimes they just seem to appear out of nowhere. Sometimes I do a bet. If I come at a new company, then I say, okay, open your schedule and I'll my challenge, and I'll give you 100 euros. If it's not the case, but I'll challenge you that you will have lots of constraints in your schedule from which you didn't know that they were there. And how does it happen? Well, we tend to read from left to right in a project like this, and well, in the Western world, we always read from left to right. So we open Microsoft Project, and as a beginner Microsoft Project, you just start typing a task name. Then you come across the duration column, and you just type in the duration. Then you come across the start column, and you type in the start date. Well, for instance, the 14th. As soon as you do that, you will see this little calendar on the left. It says you now have a start no earlier than constraint on Monday, 14th of 11. So if you manually pick a start date, then Microsoft Project sees that as a clear instruction that you want this task on that date. But why would you want a task on that date? Why do you want to constrain a task? Yeah, maybe you don't want to do that. But the problem is bigger because we keep on reading to the right, and then we see the next column, the finish date, and we type in the finish date, or we enter the finish date. What happens now? Well, 2 things. First, because I manually changed the start date and the finish date, the duration was recalculated. But also because I now typed in the finish date, I get a finish no earlier than constraint. Yeah, what does that mean? Sander is ready with his task, but he's not allowed to report that he's ready with his task because he's not allowed to finish earlier than. It makes no sense. So refrain from using these constraints. Refrain from using the start and the finish date. If you don't trust yourself, hide these columns, because you can just read the dates from your schedule on the left side. Basic principle is let Microsoft Project do the calculation for you. Sometimes, of course, a task should be constrained. For instance, for task 2, we need a certain equipment, and this equipment will not be delivered before the 21st. Yeah, that is a constraint. That's a constraint. We have to wait with task 2 before we have this equipment, because otherwise we cannot continue. And then you have a constraint, but now you used it correctly. You cannot live without this constraint. But what I would do, and I think this is the best tip you could ever get in the Microsoft Project training, absolutely the best one, is if you use constraint, put a note as to why you use that constraint. Delivery of whatever. Click OK, and live by a very simple rule that these two should come in pairs all the time. If there's only one, if there's only the constraint, remove it. Or add a note, but they should always come in pairs. I think that's a very, very important one. Let's go back and remove this constraint. So what we have now is a perfect schedule. All tasks are linked. Well, not yet. Now all tasks are linked. And now we can focus on the critical path. So our critical path, well, it's shown here. This is the critical path. And we are ready on the 8th of December, and we must be ready on the 9th of December, so we are on time, or not. I think this is not a good enough schedule yet. And why? Well, consider if you are driving to the airport, do you plan to be there exactly on time, or do you plan to be there well on time with having a buffer that can cover any types of risks? Because, well, you don't want to miss your flight. So what happens is you plan for 2 hours before or 3 hours before if it's an intercontinental flight. So this schedule is not good enough yet, I think. So what I should do is I should try to pull in this schedule. For instance, well, if Kat is not working on this task, but someone else, let's say Simon. Simon is a new resource, and Simon is able to work 100% on this task. And if he is working on 100% of his task, then the task will only take 2 days for 16 hours. It will pull in the schedule. You see that this one is still delayed. Let's not go into that because it's quite advanced stuff. If I click this button, it will change it. It will re-level my schedule. This will be explained in the 4th course of the course I offer on Cogna, by the way. You see, well, this schedule is still not good enough. We should do something else. Sander thinks, well, 24 hours, well, maybe I can skip some testing. Very popular way to shorten the project. 7th, is that okay? Well, maybe, but I think the main what we should do is look at another task, and for instance, Sander will do some overwork, task 1, overtime. So what he will do is he will work 60 hours in 3.5 days, and this will shorten my schedule even further. And now I have a good enough buffer, and now I think my schedule is complete. There are a lot of ways, of course, to shorten the schedule. One thing is fast tracking, for instance. Make sure that tasks overlap as much as possible. So maybe, let's say this the cat's task, could start 2 days or maybe 1 day before Simon finishes, like that. That's one way to shorten, or fast crashing, which means that adding resources on the critical path. If Sander and Simon and Sander do this task, for instance, the task might be even shorter. Oh, it will not calculate it correct for me now. I will explain this in 5 minutes how it will. So this is how you shorten your critical path in a nutshell. What I now have is a perfect schedule, and why it fits my triple constraint. It fits my time constraint. There it is. It fits my cost constraint. I'm not allowed to spend more than 8,000 euros, for instance. And it also fits the resource constraint. Let's suppose I don't have any overallocation anymore. It would fit the resource constraint. If my project is correct, what I do is I set a baseline. Set a baseline, and what will happen is it will make a copy of my current schedule. Well, how will it make a copy? Well, for each of these fields, like work and duration and cost and start and finish, there are, and these fields, they have, I like to say, little nephews. And these nephews are called baseline work and baseline duration and baseline start and baseline finish. You see them all, and they are now not entered now, but as soon as I set this baseline, I make that copy, they will be filled. Just by copying this field, copy work to the baseline work, duration to the baseline duration, cost to the baseline cost, and so on. And now I have a baseline. And this baseline I can also show on the right side. Right mouse click, show hide bar styles, baseline, and there it is. I just saved it. And now it will show me the gray bars. It will always show me the schedule, how it looked like when I first started the project. Now it can be that we have some trouble. For instance, this task is not taking 3.5 days but 4 days. and this task can take in 2 days but 3 days. And you see what happens. We'll see the current schedule deviating from the critical path, which means that you now have a log. You can show your customer, you can show your boss how your schedule started changing from your original schedule. So yeah, that's about the baseline. And with the baseline, I can do great things, because what I could do is I could insert a column now: work variance, duration variance, finish variance, and it will give me values. Cost variance, for instance. Cost variance. So how much did we go over budget? How much did we go under budget? Well, at this point, we are already spending, well, expecting to spend more than 1,200 more than that we expected. Yeah, so that is a good one to know. What I now want to show you is that this is just a view. This is just one view, and to this view, what I can do is I can enter some nice visuals. For instance, what I can do is I do a right click, go to custom fields, and at the custom fields you see that I can have a lot of empty slots for text fields, for duration fields, for number fields, and so on, and I can use these. For instance, I will rename this to work versus baseline, or let's make it better, cost versus baseline. There I go. And then I can create a formula that will calculate this for me. For instance, I will use the cost field, and we will divide that by the baseline cost field. And what do I get then? Well, what should be the answer if you just made the baseline? The answer to this sum should be 1. Because, well, if it's still the same, 16 divided by 16 or 12 divided by 12, it should be 1. Okay, and what I now do is I will create, well, if I click OK, and then I can enter this field in this cost versus baseline. There it is. I can enter it here. Now I get only the values. So this is like an index. This task has gone 14% over budget. This task has gone 50% over budget. But what I want to do is I want to make it visual. I go back to my field. I click the graphical indicators, and I say that if this value that is calculated is less than or equal to 1, give me a red symbol. If it's less than or equal to 1.1, give me an amber. And if it's greater than 1.1, 10% being my tolerance level, let's make it red. Okay, then I will get these nice traffic light indicators. And I can do that for cost, I can do that for work, and I can do that for duration. And at the shipyard I was talking about, well, we use it extensively. So what we do there is we have these traffic light indicators. We have them for work, we have them for duration, we have them for finish, and we have them for cost. And we see if we can find some patterns. And one department has baseline work. Work was always good estimated, but duration is red, which means that yeah, we are very good in estimating the amount of work, but we have a lot of interruptions. So next time we should also schedule those interruptions and make sure that we have a more reasonable duration for the task. Other department completely the other way around. Duration is green all the time and work is red all the time, or we see a clear pattern, which means that the amount of work was underestimated and people had to do work overtime to make sure that the same durations are being met. Next time what we will do is make sure they have a good duration right from the start and they estimate the work in correctly. How did it happen that they underestimated the work so much? Well, they didn't schedule the unforeseen work. But, and yet again, the unforeseen work, like searching for tools, for instance, is happens quite frequent. Always about 40% of the project, 40% of each task will be unforeseen work. So it's a statistic you can work with and improve your estimates later on. Their ambition is to score green on all factors in 3 years from now, which means they have a fully efficient, fully optimized production process. So that's also what Microsoft Project can do for you. This is an example of what you can do. So we made a schedule, we made some summary tasks, we made tasks, we have a milestone, we can compare this milestone with a deadline. We have resources assigned to this task and rates assigned to the resources. And with that, the cost per task can be calculated. Then we baselined this project. And baselining the project means we just make one copy of the schedule and how it looks like, so we can start tracking later on. We can mark task complete. We can say that this task is done for 100%, which gives you a check mark on the left. And as you can see in the bar, it also has one darker blue line there. We could also put in the percent, 50%, which will only show you halfway. And this way you can track how the project is really doing and how it's performing. Of course, you can also change the remaining part of the task, and so on. So this is what to do with Microsoft Project. We created milestones and deadlines. These milestones and deadlines are a perfect way to start. Many times I see people starting with the training, implementing Microsoft Project, and then saying, okay, now I start with Microsoft Project, and now I want to do it perfect. So they will not start using the project until they are for 2 months, 3 months planning, making changes, and they consider that, well, every week things change. And I think now it's not final yet, next week is not final yet, and they will never come to using this the schedule. I think it should be the other way around. I think you should just start with milestones, list all the milestones you have, and all the milestones for which you have agreed a certain deadline. Put those in your schedule and let that be the first maturity level, a schedule with only milestones and deadlines, and start reporting on that. Although if these milestones are not driven by any task and they're just entered manually, that's okay, but start with that. Then you can start up the reporting cycle, and basically tomorrow you can already start sending a very good highlight report, status report to your manager. He or she will never have experienced that before, that you create a schedule, ask for a schedule, or ask for a Microsoft Project planning, and then even the next day you will get a milestone report. Of course, it's not good enough. But that would be the second maturity level to live after, I think, which is adding the tasks. Add the tasks, start managing these tasks, mark them complete if they are complete, but manage your task list in Microsoft Project. I think that's a very good second step, and that's the second maturity level for our schedule. It will show you about baselines, how it works, how to make these traffic light indicators, how to track progress, and how to use some very handy views to ease the data entry for that. Then maturity level 3 comes, which means, well, automate the schedule. And that's where you can really start enjoying the benefits from Microsoft Project, because it will automate your schedule. Linking. Which links are there? There are different link types, for instance. We have finish to start, we have start to start, we have finish to finish, we have start to finish. What does it all mean? How to use constraints. Which situation I use constraints, which situation I don't use constraints, and have a very good look after the critical path. By then, if you implement those 3 maturity levels, which correspond to our course 1, 2, and 3, I think you have a schedule that outperforms 95% of all the schedules made throughout the world that I've seen. But it's not good enough then. It's not good enough then because these tasks are not resourced yet. That will be step 4, maturity level 4. Resource your tasks, like I did. Sunday, so you can start analyzing how these resources are being used. If I go to view, for instance, I click details here, and then I choose the resource graph, I can see if there are any problems for my task. And well, indeed, you see we have a huge overallocation. The first needs to be solved before I go on with the schedule. We'll talk about resource leveling. The resource leveling button is considered to be the most scary button in Microsoft Project, and there are about three types of people. First type of people says, well, it's a bug. Don't use it, it's a bug. But they will say that for any feature that is not fully explained yet. The second group of people says, well, I don't think it's a bug, but I don't trust it. I don't know how to use it, so I don't trust it. And the third type of people says, since I know how to use it, I cannot live without it anymore because it saves me so much time, and that will be the goal. After level 4, after maturity level 4, you will be able to use this button like I do now to solve all the overallocation. Sunday is not overallocated anymore, Cat is not overallocated anymore, but see what it does to your schedule. Now you finish a couple of days later. I had one PL about 4 months ago. His schedule moved 4 months. His main deliverable date moved 4 months by just applying the principles of resource management course. You might think, well, that's kind of naive to underestimate all the influences, all the impact that limited resources have. But yeah, we do tend to underestimate that. We think it will turn for the better. We think it will not be as bad. We underestimate it, and reality will catch up anyway. At that point, you have a very good, trustworthy schedule, reliable schedule, and you can trust the plan dates. But there's one component missing, which is cost. How many times do I see that people have the planning, the resourcing set up in Microsoft Project, but have a separate Excel sheet for the cost, for the finances? And I think that's that's a waste, because you saw how easy it is to enter rates for resources, how to enter cost resources. I can, for instance, let me go back to the resource sheet. If I have these resources, I can also use cable. It's a cost of it's a material resource, and what's the material? Well, it's cable. I could enter a label is meters or yards, and a price per unit. And then I can also assign material resources or cost resources like train tickets, plane tickets, the rent, and so on. And with that, I can create a full cost overview, full cost governance, basically, by just assigning rates and resources to tasks. Where to find all these beautiful reports? Well, I will show you. If I go to the report section, there are a lot of reports right from the box. We have dashboards, cost overview, project overview. Let's just show you one. The cost overview. Well, basically my schedule. This is what my project will cost. This is the amount I still have remaining. My project is for 21% complete because, well, I did this 1.5 task already. Here you see for project 1 and project 2 the actual cost, remaining cost, and so on. Progress lines, cost status, only from entering a couple of rates to my resources. So that's step 5. Step 5 will close it all. We'll close the entire topic on Microsoft Project, and then you're certain that you've automated as much as possible. So this is well, the time went faster than I thought. So we spoke about Microsoft Project for almost an hour, and I think we were able to show you all the functionality, or to touch every topic that's there. We touched also the views. We touched the reports and so on. One thing I want to show you and warn you for is that, well, there are a lot of options for Microsoft Project. These options determine how Microsoft Project will behave. And sometimes if Microsoft is not doing what you expect, well, someone else might say, or after Googling a couple of hours, you will find, well, this check mark is not correct. Or this check mark that's hidden somewhere here is not correct. That can be a huge pain. So in the course, what you will get is a template with all the settings preset, so you don't have to think about it anymore. All the settings are set such a way that helps the starting user of Microsoft Project, so they know what to expect, and Microsoft Project will behave exactly like they expect. That's it for now. What I want to offer you is, well, my email address will be shown. So if you have any questions to me about Microsoft Project, something you have missed, please send me those questions. And of course, there's also the chance to ask some questions now. If you don't have any questions, thank you for listening. And of course, I hope that you maybe read our blog and you really start using Microsoft Project, because I think it can be great. If you do have a question, yeah, please let me know by typing this one in the chat.
Righty, thank you so much, Sandor. Yes, so if you have any questions at all that you wanted to have addressed right now, please feel free to enter those in the chat panel on your GoToMeeting panel. I did have a couple come in to me privately. You don't have to send them to me privately. Feel free to post your questions publicly. But Sandor, I don't have any that are posted publicly, just my private ones. So let me go ahead and ask you this.
Yeah.
One that came in pretty much right after the webinar started is it possible to import my Excel schedule into Microsoft Project and start from there?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I don't know if my screen is still shown, but if you go to File, New, then you can go to New from Excel Workbook, and there you can import your Excel workbook. You have to match the fields, of course, so make sure that Microsoft Project knows how to match the fields. So if you have a task called activity in Excel, then you should have the column name in Microsoft Project, and it's a wizard which will help you to import it to Project. Absolutely.
Oh, excellent. Love the wizards. Okay, another one came in. I'm not quite sure. It says, does your company also deliver help desk support or schedule reviews? I'm not quite sure if they mean your company or if they mean Microsoft Project, but maybe you can address that either way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we do that. And there's also a plan that we offer. Yeah, if you want to know more about that, we can also do the schedule check. So if you applied anything you've learned, or you just have a schedule now and you want to know, okay, how am I doing? Am I missing something? Or can I make it a lot more easier for myself? Let me know. But just send me an email and I will come back to you how that would work.
Okay, and I didn't quite spot your contact information. Did you display that already so everyone has that?
I will type it in the chat now. Then I think
alrighty. Okay. I have only one other question here that had been submitted. It says, can I easily use the course content as a source of reference when I get stuck implementing MS Project?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a good list of contents. So if you want to know more about constraints, you go directly to that chapter. You can do a couple of exercises there, watch some videos, and there's even an exercise that will help you to do that in a demo project before applying it to your own project. So for each topic, if it's about cost, if it's about resources, if it's about task management, baselines, whatever, everything is well documented and easily to find within just a couple of clicks.
Okay, excellent. Now, I anticipate there might be some more questions folks have, but we do have people that log in as groups, so it's a little bit more difficult to put the questions in chat in that group scenario. So let me just say in closing then that if anyone has any questions that you wanted to ask Sandor about Microsoft Project, feel free to email me directly or use the email address that you see of Sandor's in the chat feature, and he'll be happy to answer those post-demo, or I'm sorry, post-webinar.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, sorry. Well, one thing more is now we only talked about Microsoft Project standalone, but Microsoft Project is also available in a server way. So at ASML, for instance, we work with 3,500 people. Intel, Qualcomm also have thousands of users in Microsoft Project, all working together with this one central resource pool, is one central server where you can do the reporting, you can do the Power BI. Also, if you have any questions about that, just let me know.
All right, excellent. Appreciate your flexibility there and willingness to answer some questions later on. Okay, in conclusion, Sandor, is there anything you want to say before we end today's webinar?
Yeah, thank you for joining. I hope you learned a lot from this. I hope that if you have the recording, you can easily implement this in your own schedule. And if you need any help, you know how to contact us.
All right, excellent. Well, I do thank you, Sandor, very much for being our presenter today for our webinar series. It was very informative, and I hope everyone learned a lot of new things. And again, as a reminder, if you think of any questions at all about Microsoft Project that you wanted to ask later on, just email me, and I will get those over to Sandor. So I do want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. Be on the lookout for the email that we'll be sending later today or tomorrow at the latest. And that's including a 30% discount off of all the courses that we have in our marketplace available from MS Project. And also we'll include the recording that we post on our YouTube channel. And feel free to email me directly with any training needs that you have, and also an interest in the Training University solution that I spoke about in the introduction. You can email me at info@cogno.com. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope everyone has a great day.